Welcome back, everyone, to the Autonomy Summer School podcast, the show that's all about you because you are in autonomy. It is Friday, August 5th, 2022. I am your host and facilitator, Daniel. You can find me in Discord and the Circle app as Daniel from Wiscannabis. If you have something you'd like to share on the show in the coming weeks or even tonight, feel free to come off mute and say hi, or message me if you want to share in the coming weeks. It's been a fast summer for me. Things are going by like crazy. Spending time with the family, trying to keep up with projects. There's a couple friends of mine that I've been talking to about season 8 Autonomy, and we're rounding the corner here to almost a month before the season starts up again. So those have been some things on my mind, but tonight I am really excited to have Mike on to talk about something that's come up previously in our show. I believe in our second show, we talked about this time exchange network, and it's gone from, a loose idea to really taking a lot of beautiful shape and form. I looked over this image he shared with me and some documentation, and I'm really excited to have Mike on and talk about what's been going on in that direction. So Mike, tell us a little bit more.
Well, I guess the idea is one in which this is something that really is, for a community like ours, it's certainly an opportunity that really kind of fits into what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to be more entrepreneurial. We're trying to get people to be more open about the skills and abilities that they have. And in a lot of cases, a lot of the skills that we have are kind of hidden by the fiat system, and this is something that I don't think a lot of people pay a lot of attention to, because it seems like, and I don't know if you've been watching Corbett's Media Matrix documentary, but he's been bringing up some really interesting points about what the media is doing to our society over the past he starts with the Gutenberg and the press and the printed press and books and so forth, and then talking about electronic media, radio and television, and then into the internet era. And one of the things that he points out is that since television has come about, people's engagement in like civic engagement has gone down, and so like things like bowling leagues and just all kinds of community events, those things are drying up because people are spending a lot more time just watching the flat screen and I guess following their sports stars and all that kind of good stuff. And that's leading to this lack of civic engagement, which is kind of where a lot of things got done. A lot of the economy happened at the local level because people knew each other. They knew what skills they had, and now we're moving into this kind of next phase. Where they're certainly trying to push people towards that that pod existence, and we've got to fight back. And we've got to kind of create the circumstance where, we spend a lot more time talking about and really, helping each other build out who we are and what our skills are. Because if we don't promote ourselves, and if we don't really kind of get people to know who we are and what are the things that we do well, they're never going to know, and no one else is going to help us know. And so to me, this is this idea of a time exchange, and I'm calling it a time exchange network because I feel it's kind of like an opportunity to like join a business network where we're going to do certain things within that network that are going to try and enhance people's ability to kind of build their own offers and build their own menus of services and products that they can provide for other people. and then try them out,
Hmm.
try them out with the other people. And then the other thing is, a lot of people don't understand how fiat currency works, and how, like, the Federal Reserve is just printing billions and billions and trillions of dollars every single day. And why can't we do that? The
Yeah.
reality is that we can't. Like, our time is worth something.
Yeah.
And if we start to, uh, like tokenize our time and tokenize the value that we bring to the table, now we start to get a different perspective on what is it that we bring to the table that's valuable.
Hmm.
And so, and then the other thing is just, doing the things that you love to do, like creating that circumstance where, if it's a hobby that you're doing, or it's something that you just always wanted to do, and maybe it's not worth anything in the fiat system, but it's something you really like to do. Maybe it's an art project, or maybe it's some music or something like that. But this is the opportunity to really kind of create those circumstances where you try those things, and get other people, in cooperation, to check them out, see what they think.
Yeah. No, I'm I think it's fantastic. I mean, as you're talking about it, I brought up that the network model, the infographic. I shared it in the circle group, and I mentioned the one-eyed purple people because of that song. The purple people eaters. Just for some reason, when I was going through the process, I'm like, it's a one-eyed it's a one-eyed purple person. But looking at these types of events, an educational event, investigative event, a community bazaar, specific benefit, innovation, or project, I mean, those can be so many things. It's really wide reaching, but it also, I really think, could encompass a complete circle, a self-sustaining community that could, in essence, detach um, and live on their own in Costa Rica, or in the Mexico mountains, or in Montana, or maybe it's just some people in Indiana who want to do this.
Yeah.
It's a real model, and I'm not sure if I think maybe I'll screen share for a second,
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I'll talk a little bit about what I'm seeing. And all right, cool. Hopefully that's coming through nicely. So when I'm looking at this, it's like I'm thinking about, well, I'm coming in, and the question for me right here is the first person saying, "Do I want to network?" Am I reading that right? Like, do I want to plug in and connect?
Well, the idea is to, like, kind of create the circumstance that you get paid to go to community events that we're trying to encourage. So that's the first thing. The community event, the start here is, hey, I want to go to that event, and for our community, we're suggesting, and for the time exchange network, we're advocating for particular events, like this event. For example, I'd say, man, I want to help promote this event, so I want to give the people that come to this event, you know a token for the time that they're spending. And then, so that's the first thing, is coming to an event. And then the second is the idea of, of offering, do you want to be part of a network? And of course, freedom is about making choices. So certainly what we want to do is give people choices, that, are they really interested? Are they maybe interested and they don't understand? Or, no, I'm not interested at all. I just wanted to come to the event, and, never mind. I don't want to spend any time on that. And so then, I'll just go to the next one. We can talk about that. There's, the two options is, one, you get a token for just showing up, and you don't necessarily, have anything in mind, but you have that availability that you do have a token. And if you want to engage in some of the basic services within the network, you have that opportunity to schedule something. The second idea is that, yeah, you want to be a part of this. And so there's kind of three options there. But really, the first thing is kind of exchanging your token for this idea of creating your own menu of like, what are the services that you want to provide. And so, that's kind of breaking into those two different areas where you're creating some type of services, or I'm sorry, you create your menu and then you purchase some kind of services. And Jesus, I guess I need to review my own my own drawing. But and here again this is kind of a draft, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this. My intention, and I was listening to Benny Wills when I was putting this together, is to to do it in a visual way, so that like a meme type of situation where it's relatively easy to figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah, no, you kind of like put yourself in this like it's a video game. You can put some sound effects and be like insert person, like "Ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, hey Mario, do you want to play it? Of course I want to play. I didn't come here to do nothing. Ding. How much do you want to put in? I'll put in half of what I got going on. Chink. So then,
Yeah.
like, what do you got to offer? Well, I can eat mushrooms and get stronger and beat up bad guys. Cool. We really need that over here. This person over there. Badoop, badoop. Like I'm doing a rough paraphrase, but when this gets in loop with real people with real services, like a person who hemp farms and makes a really good cream to put on your skin that's real usable, and someone else who's like, I got really good chickens and beef and they're really great, but you got to cook them. And someone else is like, well, I'm going to run a restaurant for a week and I need that beef and those chicken eggs, and then I'll buy that beef. And these circles start spinning. I need someone to help me with my website. I need someone to help me make some videos to help me talk about these things I want to sell and share. And I need someone to help me market. I'm trying to do cleaning in my local town, but I just can't get enough gigs. These are all ways that this could plug in and work, and even feed other existing systems. Like I said, a cleaning business could be
Well,
boosted by plugging
I
in.
being that autonomy is that, like, there is a separation between most of us, that most of us are interacting online. So like, if that's the case, then to some degree, like the services that we can provide are things that we can provide online. But that's not to say that for the people that are close by, you can't do things that are actual one-on-one physical type of things that could come about from those things. And then again, this is also something that can be duplicated over and over again, so that like, once we introduce it here within our community, is not to say that you can't like create a local version and duplicate the effort again at your local level. My feeling and we're really in the infancy of this thing. To some degree, we're talking about we've been talking about this for a few weeks, maybe a few months now. But it's like an experiment, where we're suggesting, here's some ideas about how this can work. But the bottom line is that if you offer services to other people and they are able to see the value, and then you create the circumstance that you can provide them with value, you can build your testimonials. You can kind of build out like your entrepreneurial offers by being being in collaboration with our community. And so it's like a soft start, for people that are kind of like, this may be their first go round in an entrepreneurial fashion, where they don't want to get out there and like do all the things and have to worry about the lawyers and all that kind of stuff. You can just say, hey man, I'm just I can paint rooms and I can rake yards and I can mow lawns or something like that, whatever it is. And just try it, and not necessarily have to worry about all the other things that has to go into business. But by really getting to see like people's reaction to the value that you can provide, and being able to kind of schedule that in and like go through the transaction, And, a lot of these things are things that, are foreign to people because, most of us are just familiar with getting a job, getting a paycheck, doing what they tell us to do, filling out the forms the way they want us to fill them out, and never really being creative about, the things that we want to do and how those relate to improving other people's quality of life. This is an exercise, and this is an experiment in doing all those things and just having the opportunity to try and maybe fail, but nevertheless, it's like walking the tightrope when you're like 6 inches off the ground.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It's, you got to just get started somewhere. And so as this progresses, I mean, when we first brought it up, I think it was on a Sunday Q&A, and then we discussed it again on the second summer school podcast.
Yeah.
And so as it's taken shape, and with what you brought, forth just this week to me, I mean, I'm all on board. And so it's just a matter of getting more of the community to take a look at it and see, okay, now what's the next step? How can we, activate and take some action? I have a situation where I'm trading video editing services for some of the services that Daryl Becker offers, with holistic, consulting, and he's able to do that from Hawaii. So he does these long meetings and takes a whole lot of notes and then does a whole lot of research, and then through just dialoguing with the clients, is really able to offer great advice about diet, nutrition that's specific to the person's body and how they're reacting. And I found it really beneficial. And that's aside from his mental emotional kung fu course, which I was able to participate in season 7. But those are perfect examples where this is actually what's actually happening. Like, we prearranged to agree. We made an artificial token. The token was our word. I'll do this for you. You'll do that for me. We set a value. We set a limit. So how many hours of my time for how many hours of his time? The agreement was struck. It all took 2 minutes. And boom, we literally did what's displayed here, just on a 1-to-1 ratio. But yeah, great value.
Yeah, Rawad and Wendy were kind of two of the collaborators that have gone through some of the other meetings that we've talked about different ways about approaching this. And Rawad is now in the midst of making a big move from one continent to another. And so to some degree, he's engaged in doing that. And I know Wendy's got some other things that she's doing. So we're moving pretty slowly at the moment. And I've had some computer problems myself that have kind of kept me doing other things. But nevertheless, the opportunity is right in front of us. And that's another thing, is that we're getting to the point that we're up against the system really pushing it to the absolute limit. And, to a large degree, it is that time where we really have to be in the mode of collaborating, of like really focusing on, the people around us and the community around us, and helping each other, because, it's a hostile environment out there in the real world. And, there's a lot of things going wrong, and it's really up to us to help each other. And, as far as I'm concerned, it's go time. And we do have to have, we've got to be thinking creatively. We've got to be, providing value in all these new ways, because the thing is the system is it is a shrinking awareness. And that's why it's so damn paranoid, and why it wants to take so much control, because it is so freaking paranoid. And because it's got the blinders on, man. There's just certain things that it wants to eat all the resources. But for us, for those of us that believe in abundance, this is really our opportunity to really show people, man, it's just like we can print our own money. We can do all kinds of things. It's like every single person has, just an endless amount of skills. I was talking to Tim Flynn on the Leo show on Wednesday. We're talking about his presentation he does on Sundays from May Brussels, and the amount of impact that one woman had in just reading newspapers and collating data. And man, she practically rocked the federal government. One woman by herself reading stuff in her house. That's, to me, that's the kind of potential that each of us as autonomizers have. And it's really that how we kind of help and encourage each other to like bring those things out, that that makes it a wonderful experience. And even in the worst situations, we're going to shine.
Yeah, I think in the worst situations is when we start to shine the most. I found that especially after coming off Autonomy. Here comes summertime, the course is over, bunch of things on the table to try to deal with and process. And at some point I thought about what would this have been like a year ago, doing the same dance with all these problems, but without autonomy.
And I see John has joined us. John actually went to a couple of the early meetings, and I did an interview with him. I don't know. I guess it's been about a month ago.
Yeah, John, feel free to share if you got something to chime in too. We'd love anyone who's in the show. You can unmute anytime and interrupt. This is actually this whole podcast serves to function like a Sunday Q&A. So you could watch or you could interrupt at any time. We can cover our material later on. But you mentioned May Brussels, and I thought about, I think it's Ida Tarbell. She kind of did the same thing to the Rockefellers, and she just stayed at it. One woman writing letters, reading, presenting information, getting people to know the information. Our potential is so unlimited, and that's what I liked a lot about the model. Maybe we can get back to some questions I had. Sure. Kind of honing in on the unmet needs. That's kind of the first thing in your list. I'm gonna read a little bit and I'll share it with some folks. Most people are unaware of the value gap of the value gap between fiat value and quality of life value. This is one of the ways to gain a new perspective on that opportunity, as well as recognition of their own valuable skills, abilities, and natural talents that are unrecognized or underutilized by the current fiat system. People also have a disconnection in the recognition of the value of their time and attention, and being able to budget it more wisely towards things that could improve their quality of life. So that's the first piece of documentation you share with me. And that's a lot to unpack. But I think that coming into autonomy myself, I really thought I had a good grasp on my value. And coming into autonomy, doing video production was a previous hobby of mine that occasionally brought small pieces of income. And since autonomy, it's something I'm doing several times a week, upgraded gear, upgraded software, doing projects outside of autonomy that I would not have been doing at all. Having the opportunity to influence a gigantic podcast that I have been following for years, and be able to get people to see a film that they may or may not have seen from 15 years ago, kind of is an example of these two women we talked about, Ida and May Brussels. And I feel like anyone listening to the show or anyone coming into autonomy, like that's exactly the message for you, is you could shake the earth. Yes, someone's coming on.
Yeah, it's me, Taras. So John did ask in the chat, Mike, what did the one woman that you were just referring to do, I guess, is his question. So you mentioned this May Brussels was, just investigating news stories in her house. But sort of what did that lead to? I kind of saw some of the buzz about it, but I wasn't really clear on what the reference was.
Yeah, well, I just interviewed Tim on the Leo show on Wednesday, so I can I'll send John a link if he wants to that interview. But Mae Brussels was just a housewife that she was interested in what the situation was with the JFK assassination. So she ordered the like the volumes of all the testimony in regard to all that stuff, and then she started cross-referencing all the references and all the witnesses and all that kind of thing, plus reading a whole bunch of newspapers from around the country. And she was able to kind of really kind of see how information was being disseminated around the country. Like there were particular things that were interesting to particular people in particular places, but in other places those things were just completely left off the table. So in a lot of cases it like the information was just being held in localities and the rest of the nation had no idea of this stuff. And so like when that she put all that stuff back together, and was able to piece this thing back into a mosaic of what is the big picture. And
Cool.
she was able to get on a radio station, and she broadcast like a 1-hour radio show. And Tim Flynn has gone through, I think there's about 800 hours of broadcasts that she did. In some cases she got thrown off the air, and she would like record like a cassette tape and then send it out to her her supporters and stuff. But she was able to record this like hourly kind of update on all the information that she was finding, all for I don't know, about 12 or 15 years, something along those lines. But she met with like Jim Garrison, who was the New Orleans district attorney that investigated the JFK assassination, and more than likely she emboldened him because she was providing him with evidence and clues and stuff like that kept him on the trail. I don't know if you know, but Jim Garrison actually got on national TV in like 1967 and said the JFK assassination is, there's some big questions and there's some people involved that need to be looked into. And of course that's when the CIA really started to build the conspiracy theorist kind of curse
The
words,
meme,
I guess.
the mind virus of conspiracy theory. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's an off switch for people's mind. That's what a lot of people have called it. They say conspiracy theorist, and now there's a whole list of them now. Now you're QAnon or you're whatever. They're trigger switches. It's mind control.
But
Cool.
to be really just to kind of wrap it up, again, she was just a housewife, that had the time to read books and make notes and call people and ask questions. And just through doing that, she was able to really, make the CIA and make the White House and make a lot of people in Congress shudder at the thought of what she might be able to pull off, and
Nice.
so and those were the days when we didn't have any internet. There were very few national broadcasts and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it was a very controlled environment in a lot of ways, and she was able to do what she did. Today we've got a lot more access to a lot more people and a lot more tools that can come about. And just to give Tim some credit, I mean, I've been participating in this show here for, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks now. And man, I have learned so much about kind of the inside techniques that the CIA have used, and how much influence like the Nazi intelligence organization had after the war when it was incorporated into the CIA, and how those players came to have the power and the influence, and some of the projects and the federal money that they were able to take and turn into programs. All those things, it's a lot of information, and it's certainly, when it comes to having an intellectual self-defense, when we look at like what's going on, Alex Jones and his little trial going on these days, being able to look at that situation and go, okay, there's some other questions I should be asking, and looking at in this situation. I'll give you a quick example. Mark Lane, he's the guy that wrote the book Rush to Judgment. I think it was written in like 1964, 1965. It was about the JFK assassination and kind of the Warren Commission, right? But he was actually kind of a CIA operative, like a inside guy, and he wrote that book, or at least it's pretty clear that he wrote that book to essentially be kind of the whistleblower for other people to talk to him about blowing the whistle. And so then he put himself in the situation where he was able to control a lot of the evidence that was outside the control of the CIA and the government, and steer people in the wrong direction, and in some cases get them killed, put them in the wrong place, put them in prison, put them in mental institutions, all kinds of bad stuff, and so like just kind of being able to look back in history and see that, see how that technique worked, and then realize that that's the kind of stuff that's going on today with a lot of these popular characters that some are kind of floating in between the mainstream media and the alternative media, and what they're doing and where they're going and what the motivation is and who's paying them. These are all things that we've got to ask questions about. We can't just take people for face value.
We got to look behind the veil, don't we, Michael?
Absolutely. And that question, we got to ask those questions.
All the hard ones. That's actually was something I just did the other week when 3 weeks ago or something. I really thought I was going to take this sales rep job. And then I did the hard question of, if I was a business owner and someone was trying to sell me this product, I would put it through a logical process and I would test it, and it failed miserably. And I realized I could not sell the product.
Yeah.
And when I spoke again with the recruiter who was trying to recruit me, it was like our third or fourth conversation. I was like, I'm I'm having some doubts about the product. And he's like, okay, well, talk to me about it. And I went through a couple of them. And then I said, what? I just don't think it'll be a good fit. And he just accepted it. He's like, he didn't have any argument with me because I don't think the product is fantastic. He couldn't give me there wasn't any hidden information. So it was just done with it. So yeah, well, there was a meme. I think it was posted in the Grand Theft World meme section. Those who want to buy a home, if they're critical and analytical and they have the home inspected and they get the right mortgage and shop around, they're good conscious shoppers. But if you apply that same thing to medical decisions, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's that bizarre. That's where you see where the mind control is happening, because there's no consistency. Or even how Dave Chappelle pointed out, woman, go ahead, kill the baby, but then maybe the man can decide not to pay. You can't make us pay if we're being consistent. And that kind of shocked the whole community world. And now they're still hating on Dave for that. So, and other things. I don't want to sidetrack too much.
Well, I'll give you another example. Matthias Desmet, has come out with, what he calls mass formation. And I just was looking at a book review with Dr. Peter Breggin, who was kind of the featured psychiatrist in the movie, in the True Stream Media's documentary, Minds of Men, which I thought was a really powerful documentary, and Catherine Austin Fitts. And, they were basically saying, this mass formation is, isn't what it's cracked up to be. And especially this book that he's come out with, that he's basically kind of blaming the victim for, and I think Catherine Austin Fitts in this interview that she did on, her website, I think it's Solera, she was, she said that, he made the statement that, the German people enabled Hitler to come to power. It wasn't that they were kind of mass formation. They weren't like hypnotized by Hitler. It was their, it was kind of their ignorance and unawareness that kind of invited Hitler to take power, and this is kind of one of those things where, like this theory comes out, this mass formation theory comes out. It seems to be like, hey, I mean, it's a great explanation for what's going on here, and to some degree, there's things about it that, as far as Matthias Desmet is concerned, the way that he describes it and the way that I've heard it from him in interviews that I've seen, suggests that, that's exactly, it is like a mass hypnosis, going on, and people are entranced by, by the circumstance, and they just, kind of get pigeonholed into a circumstance where they really don't feel like they have any other choice but to move forward with what options the government gives them. But, now he's putting out a book, and to some degree, it doesn't sound like the book is quite the same as, what he's presented in the presentations. And so now we've got this, kind of circumstance where is there a dichotomy going on? Is there a situation where now we're going to have our community split between people that are pro mass formation and people that are anti mass formation? I'm just saying that these are kind of the things when you're paying attention and your intellectual self-defense is starting to grow, that you start to see, okay, there's some new terrain here that I can see now, and I've got to be able to navigate around these things and understand the language and the words that are being used, because like everybody is not seeing this the same way, and already we've got some people that are saying mass formation is this, and now mass formation is that, and is it really this, or is it that, or is it something else? And so here we are right in real time, kind of being able to see that there's something going on here, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but we've got to have our eyes and ears open.
Yeah, for sure. Those divisive tools have come out time and time again, and they work over and over and over again. And people study history so that it doesn't happen again. But it just works constantly, because there's such a, well, I almost want to quote one of the Dulles brothers: the American people don't read. That's what he said. Actually, yeah. I think someone in response to the Warren Commission report, it's like, don't worry, American people don't read. What a jackass. I read. Anyways.
Hey, Daniel, can you hear me?
I can, John. Good to hear you.
Yeah, I was having some problems, and I didn't know, guys, if I was going to even come on, because I was having some problems with my well, I'm tired, but also I was having some problems with my microphone, so I thought I would plug it in just to see, because earlier it was like going in and out. But I'm glad that you could hear me. What you had just said, I wanted to say, when you said that the American people they should read more. Could you flesh it out? What was the quote? What had happened? Who said that?
I'm just going off the top of my head, so I may be roughly paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But I believe the quote is attributed to one of the Dulles brothers, whether it's Alan or the other Dulles. and it was the one who was working on the Warren Commission report, which was what the government orchestrated to tell the official story of the assassination of JFK. This is where the magic bullet theory comes from. So people were discussing with him about the report or something. Aren't you concerned about this section? Or so there was some question given to him regarding the report or subject matter in the report, and his response was, the American people don't read. There's nothing to worry about. And I found that, when I discovered that was when I was testing the reality of 9/11 as presented to me, as I experienced, where I was that day when that happened. And so I, like my father with the Nixon experience, realized that there's these invisible walls that surround us, and you bump into them sometime, and that's when you actually bump into reality.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're physical walls, sometimes they're legal walls, sometimes they're just a reality check or a paradigm shift, metanoia, a change in your mind that causes you to change your action, and it's radical. So I think that that's what America needs more of. It's more radical change inside people's minds, or as Richard likes to talk about a lot, fire in the minds of men.
Yeah, fire in the minds of men. Yeah, I say what I thought of when you said that, 'cause, I love God. I thought about the Holy Spirit, and I thought about this thing in the Bible. They talk about Pentecost, and that was like a tongue of fire. I also was, as you said, like that part where he said that they don't read. I thought about it just made me think about my experiences coming through public school, and I can remember very clearly not getting it. Like they had, like, I'm like, first kindergarten, first, second grade, up in that area, and I wasn't grasping it. So I got put in this remedial reading, and I kept trying and kept trying and kept trying, and I'm trying to connect these to get to a point where I can read, like to be able to read and comprehend. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, well, now the words, like, are very, very important. And words have, like if I said sail, if I use the word sail, well, that could be like, I'm going to sell something to someone, or I'm going to go sail on a boat. It's one word. It has two different nuances to it. And you could go with the language, you can go on. It's like, so you got a generation of people that are purposely being brought into, an awareness, and they're growing up, and words are changing. And then you got a generation, that's ahead of them, and the distrust, overcoming that. And I think about, and I said all this to say, I thought about a book that I heard about by a man called Common. The book was called Common Sense. I have yet to read it.
Thomas Paine.
Yes, right, by Thomas Paine. And I was like wondering how, when you have this dynamic, like the dynamic of where, purposely things are being done to, cause the younger generation to have distrust in the older generation. The older generation also has to be able to have compassion and look back on the younger generation and be able to recognize that they were once where they were, and also to be able to bring them along. And so it's like the younger generation can lead the older generation in some ways, because they have the flexibility, the nuances, not the nuance, the flexibility, the experiences that are fresh. The older generation can lead the younger generation because they have the experience and the knowledge, and some things under their belt that the younger generation will need. And when I looked at the Thomas Paine situation with Common Sense, I was wondering how someone could be able to have the ability to communicate in such a way where they will be able to bridge the gap, it's such as Thomas did. That's the point. It's like, that's the question, or the thing that I'm pondering as I heard you say the American people don't read, through that quote. It's like, how do you, do these things to be able to get to a point where, you get slowly, little bit, build momentum. And these are things I've been thinking about. And that's what I thought of when you said that. Yeah, that's my little bit.
I appreciate that, John, actually a lot. That's, you coming on and open up is exactly what I wanted this to be. And I think a lot about what you're saying there, and in conjunction to this this model, how can we get people to read, or how can we find ways to, because what we're really, the bottom line here is we want people to have better lives, and this is actually where we come past unmet needs, is to having a quality of life as opposed to a substance underneath our ownership value, but rather the quality of life that we lead, both in our day to day and our interaction. Maybe that we can create connections that start to feed us, and in return feed those that we're interacting with. And I think reading.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you ask people what they want, and the answer is money. The problem with that is that, like, this fiat system with the money creates the circumstance where they may want to help their mother, or they want to help their kids, or but by focusing on the money, they lose those other things. They just, I got to collect the more money because I got to help my kids, I got to do these other things. But it's really about identifying those things and communicating those things, because, like, in a lot of ways, if we knew what you really wanted, oh, I need to teach my kids, or I need to, help my kids do this or that. If you were able to communicate those things instead of just say, I need money, people would be able to help you. There'd be people coming from left and from the right, and maybe, the whole community would be able to help you solve a lot of these problems that then give you that opportunity to really, to take the time to do the things that are, a bit more important. And again, really start to identify the things that we really, the things that we really want, rather than just, have this, like, intermediary thing that everybody is focused on. And it's, it has become such a religion. And when it comes to conditioning, you've got to remember that, like, every time something is repeated, it's conditioning, or it has the potential to be conditioning. And this is the thing with the fiat transaction, is every time we're transacting in fiat, in our subconscious mind, we're kind of training ourselves to say, this is the solution. This is the solution. This is the solution. And if we don't ever give our subconscious mind any other options, then we basically programmed ourselves to think money is the only solution, and I think in a lot of cases, people are just stuck in that. And I don't think a lot of people like that, but they're just, it's like they don't have any other choices. And they don't understand any other alternatives.
Yeah.
And
No,
so we've got to consider that, and the other thing is like, like what we were talking about earlier, like this idea of unmet needs. This is the first piece of a value proposition. It's like, is this idea worth anything? Well, what are the unmet needs that this thing takes care of? By identifying the needs, it's an important step into understanding value. And again, it's like, is this something that everybody knows? Is everybody, like, out there looking for unmet needs? Has everybody got their list of unmet needs that they've done throughout their day? Heck no.
no,
But that's what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
That's the language that we need to have. And when we're talking to other people, if we're never giving these opportunities out to other people, hey, I got this unmet need, I got this unmet need over here. If we never have that conversation, if we never put that in our conversations, then no one ever knows.
Yeah. Yeah. It never gets out there. We got to open our mouth, and we got to pursue something. And also sometimes, I mean, I had a great opportunity from a Sunday Q&A just by listening. I was present. I was listening to other people discuss on the Sunday Q&A, and Rashad came on from Florida and was talking about what he had going on, and then he said, I really want to learn some video editing, and I was able to go, I can help you with that. But it only happened because I was there in the audience, participating and listening, and I was benefiting from the interaction that was already taking place as people solved, offered ideas, troubleshooting problems. So that's the best thing about Autonomy Sundays is everyone, 37 people, blah, 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 40, whatever, all these people on a call, listening, thinking. It's like these brains come together and there's like this nuclear reaction changing the course of the future. And that's what's so radical. Like, to me, that's what's so radical about autonomy and being able to network with this technology. And that's why I believe that this time exchange network can really get wings and fly, and may become the fall of 2023 would be some really cool examples that we can talk about. I'm going to scroll a little bit forward past the unmet needs into the approach. Let me read this section. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about it.
Okay.
By creating an opportunity to create a token based on the time they invest in valuable community activities that can bring benefit to not only the individual, but also the community. This token is offering the potential to teach people the unrecognized value and ability to recognize that value through a network agreement. In addition, it allows individuals in the community to reinforce healthy behavior that supports the discovery and communication of skills, abilities, and talent that not only benefits individual, but also the community. And that's rad. I've seen that in Autonomy, but I wanted to ask if you can tell us some ideas or some ways you think this token through a network agreement can reinforce healthy behavior.
Yeah, well, number one is the idea of recognizing the value of your time. We're probably in the range of about 600 people in Autonomy now, and if people if those 600 people spent an hour a week in Autonomy, that's 600 hours of people's time.
Yeah.
What are we getting out of that 600-hour investment? And if we recognize that hour gives us something valuable, and we can kind of see it in real terms, then there's more than likely that it's going to be 1,200 hours next month or next week, and maybe even more. Because the thing is that this is another element that when it comes to like playing video games or watching television shows, we just consider them, I need some time to relax, or I need some time to wind down or that kind of thing. But we really never have any kind of way of measuring in a different way. Like the time that I'm putting into something, what is it actually delivering for me? Being able to to reference it to dollars, referencing it to quality of life, and having that practice of seeing how that works for me, but then being able to evaluate that on all these different things, even if it is entertainment. Is reading a book more valuable to me than watching a Netflix show or playing a video game? In some cases it may be. And that's kind of the thing, is that like once you start to realize that you've got choices here, and these choices lead to different outcomes, then it starts to become more measurable to you. Like, what do I want to do with my time? Even if it's it's spending time with your kids, like being able to say, I just spent an hour of time with my sons, and that was the most valuable time, and I want to do more of that. So like, how do I do that? And being able to like put that on that that rating, and say, yeah, this is my most valuable time. And so this is this is what I'm suggesting with this kind of idea, is that it is a different way to measure value that most people are just completely unaware of. But once they start practicing it, I think they'll see something really different.
I really like that, how you said that, a different way to measure value. I want to like put it bold on the screen when I go back and re-edit this. A different way to measure value. And we should think more about different ways to measure value. I almost want to repeat it and ask you tonight, when you go to bed, to think about a different way to measure value. And when you wake up in the morning, we should each ask ourselves, how can we measure value differently this day? I think that question can lead to the most radical ideas of change. And I really liked what you said about that 600 people in 600 hours. That kind of power is what we need right now. We need to tap into that, and we need to spark that, because there is so much creativity in the community that I've met. And I can't even say I've met beyond like 16 or 18 people in the community, and maybe 5 or 6 I've spoken with on more than 3 or 4 occasions, and that's enough for me to feel bonded, to have enough conversational background to feel like I know this person, I really like this person a lot. I want to support and encourage their endeavors as much as I can. And those are the benefits from autonomy that are unmeasurable. And it's that word unmeasurable that appeared in the document. And I wanted to ask, where did I write that down? Benefits to cost. It must have been down at the bottom when we were talking about benefits to cost. But the question I had, I won't read any more segments because I don't want to get long-winded on that. But it talked about, let me scroll back up. The benefits of cost may be immeasurable in relation to the cost, because most people are unaware of the ability to tokenize the value of their time. So can you explain a little bit more? Maybe we can just dive in why it's such a difficult thing for our mind in our cultural background with fiat currency. Why is it difficult for us to measure that differently?
Well, I think there's a couple different things that come into play, because there's the idea that, how is a doctor's time relate to somebody that's, a 15-year-old kid that hasn't really had too much experience in anything. How their times relate? And to some degree, it isn't about comparing the value of each other's time. It's about comparing the value of your time doing one thing to doing something else. Having the high school kid mow your lawn instead of you having to mow your lawn is the circumstance in which the doctor, because he's got to go out there and mow the lawn, and maybe that's not his thing, and maybe he's got to drag the mower out of the garage and all these other things, where the kid can just be pushing the mower down the thing and be hitting one lawn after another, and it takes him 20 minutes to do it or whatever. But the thing is that the doctor doesn't have to worry about that hour of digging in the garage and going through all the motions of mowing the lawn. He just spends his hour doing the thing that's more valuable to him. And so they're like, exchanging time doesn't necessarily mean you're exchanging time one for one.
Yep.
And then again, and the other thing is that this isn't the answer for every single problem. This is just another way to transact time. One of the things that a lot of us, certainly those of us that understand the Federal Reserve and so forth, and the way fiat money works, is the idea of legal tender laws. That you can only make a contract in this particular form of currency, and if you don't do that, then that's not a legal binding contract. And so the inability for people to even transact in other things, because it's not legal tender, and it doesn't give us the legal protections, and it doesn't give us insurance, and it just all these different things that come about by exchanging and bartering and doing all these other things. It's it's just that inability to see the difference, because we've been still buried in this system for so long that we don't see any other alternative, and here again is the idea of, what is freedom? Freedom is the ability to, make choices. And if we don't know that there's a choice to be made, and we just think, oh, well, this is just the way things are, and we don't even realize that we're making a choice that, we don't even know we're making, that's kind of one of the problems that this I think brings about too, is that idea that we can transact in a lot of different ways. And again, this is a way that we encourage each other to have communications and to make offers and do some haggling and so forth, is by, bartering and exchanging time and, and doing things in different ways that allow us to negotiate. I mean, there's people that understand like the real estate business, and they'll come and they'll suggest that they're going to buy your house from you, and they'll throw you like 15 different options as to how they can buy the house from you. We can lease to own, we can do this, it's like they are going to make a deal, and they've got 15 different tools in their tool chest. And they're going to figure out the combination that it's going to take, whether it's I give you a down payment of 5% and I'll lease it from here, and I'll give you a balloon payment in a year, and all these different ways that you could buy or transact. That's kind of the same thing that this, I think, offers, is that ability to like throw some more tools in your tool chest when it comes to negotiating with people, so that like it's like that you're going to have an option for them that they probably don't understand or didn't expect, but the fact that you can offer that and give them a choice, it just gives them a little bit of that taste of freedom that they otherwise didn't know they had.
Yeah, that's that one extra side of the fractal that you hadn't seen on the gem yet until it's rotated and you see the underside. I really like the explanation of the high school boy and the doctor. That's the perfect visual way to represent, what this model offers. Because a time exchange, you could do anything with your time. You could take a nap. You could finish the code that's worth $1 million. That the time exchange it's just about as unlimited as our potential. In the section below, the benefits and cost is a section that you titled competition, and it mentions in there decentralized autonomous organizations. And that was something I wasn't too familiar with, so I'm not too sure who in the audience may know more. So can you tell a little bit about DAOs and maybe give an example of existing DAOs?
Yeah, well, that terminology DAO is decentralized autonomous organizations, and so this is something that's come up in the crypto arena, and certainly one of the things about what they're calling Web 3.0 is the idea that we can kind of create these organizations that are decentralized, and kind of like people are buying stock in an organization with the idea that they're going to work together, almost like a crowdsource type operation to accomplish some project or build some type of business. There are quite a few of the crypto businesses that are kind of operating like this. I wouldn't consider them, most of them, decentralized. However, I think to a large degree, a lot of the things that have been sold to us in the crypto world aren't really what they say they are. Like a lot of the supposed decentralized ways that like trying to think of the crypto that came out, EOS. The idea that it was going to be more decentralized than some of the other cryptos. But there's basically like 20 mining operations that are kind of the centralized control points of the EOS system. And although it's 20, there's kind of a select few that really have the options to provide those services. And so it's kind of like the elite of the elite in the crypto industry that like have the opportunity to play those positions. And so it's, there's just a lot of kind of smoke and mirrors, I guess, and there has been for quite a while. And so there are organizations out there that are calling themselves distributed or decentralized autonomous organizations, but they really just kind of operate like stock ownership. And for the most part, the people that are the controlling interest that own 50 or 60% of the controlling interest, and it doesn't really matter what the other 40% do. They've got control. What I'm suggesting is that we really make this decentralized. We put this out into an organization where every individual that's participating is one piece of however many are of the total. So if there's 20 people in the organization, then they're 1/20th of the organization. And so then how does that transfer into an organization being able to do what it does? These are some of the other things that we're really kind of learning, because for a large part, another thing that we've been taught and really conditioned to at an incredible level is this idea of the power hierarchy. And the idea of like how things get done. We need a CEO, and we need vice presidents, and we need directors, and we need managers, and then we got the associates, the people that are doing the work, the employees. And being a part of an organization that allows people to be a lot more flexible is something that we really haven't seen. But again, this is where kind of the idea of like a business network comes into play, where each participant in a business network is a business, a entrepreneur that's representing their piece of the business network. And so they're part of the network because they know that it's something that they can use to help them build their business, and at the same time provide services and value to the other people in the network. And so, I did have a little experience with this when I kind of quit the construction industry. Like my first inclination was to kind of start my own local business network, and I kind of took a fledgling business networking group that had about 4 members in it, and turned it back into something that we had about 70 business members, and and it was an organization that was dedicated to the network, dedicated to each of the individuals that participated.
Sounds like a really rewarding thing to get involved with, and that's a lot of growth. You say 7 to 70, that's 10 times. How much time transacted from the 7 to 70?
It was I think it was a couple of years, but what I was able to do, and this was kind of helping me as far as I was interested in getting involved in local politics. So I really kind of used it as a leverage piece for asking politicians to come address our business group. So I got the sheriff, and I got the mayor, and I got a bunch of the local businesses and kind of infrastructure projects and stuff like that to give me access, because I was this business networking group, and so then I was able to do tours and kind of field trips. This was in Pensacola, Florida, so we did field trips to some of the big factories. We got a General Electric wind turbine factory in Pensacola, so we were able to tour that and kind of get an inside view on how they manufacture wind turbines, who are they giving their customers to, what kind of stuff is going on there. We also did the port facility, and again, a lot of the political figures and stuff like that. So to me, it was a way to kind of entice the politicians, so I could get to know the politicians better. But it was also a way for me to grow the influence of the people that were involved in the business network as well, and as well as increase the interaction between the different business people. And again, it's like a lot of people, they're good in one particular thing. Maybe they're a locksmith, maybe they're a plumber, maybe they bake particular foods great, good in a lot of other things. They're not good in marketing and act with other people that are really autonomy is one of the things. Marketing block for businesses, businesses that can that do great marketing. It doesn't matter if they're if they do good marketing and they're with the other people that that may be bakers and flower shops or whatever, they can still use that same model. They can still collaborate and say, oh, you're using this local magazine to and it's like increase your gross sales by 300%. Yeah, well, let me try that.
Yeah, exactly.
And lo and behold, next thing you know, everybody is flourishing.
Yeah, I can really see how that can come to life. So that was like all the questions I had. We only worked a little bit of our way through the model. Did you want to talk any more about the model, like looking at it on the screen, or was there something I may have skipped
you can
over?
Pop it up again. I think one of the things that I wanted to explain was the idea of a couple of the different ways that we can encourage community activities and events, but also as far as like interacting with other people, part of that lower part of where it says service rendered, quality of life improved. The idea is to kind of create the circumstance that you have people that understand what it is that you're bringing to the table, that they can then explain to other people. And that's this little little like talking box of a little purple people eater guy, explaining to his friend that, hey man, this guy can do something for you that's beneficial, and so there again is like, when you can explain to other people and then they can explain it to other people, you're just multiplying your marketing force. You're creating the circumstance that the people that you associate with become your second tier of marketing,
Yeah, the market force multiplier.
Yes. And so then the other thing that I wanted to point out is that, like if you're going to all these events and you're collecting all these tokens, like what if I'm not, really buying any services? Well, the other thing you could do is create another event where you could actually pay people to show up to your event, and kind of, to some degree, you could salt the audience, or you could say the first 10 people that show up to this particular event, I'm willing to give you a time token, So it just gives people another incentive to show up to an event, like if you're going, I'd like to do that thing, but I don't know, oh, I'm going to get paid for it. Okay, well, I'll probably go to that then, So it's just another barrier that you can remove from people's excuses that gives you the opportunity to really kind of stimulate the circumstances where when you're creating a new event, or you're creating a educational event, or when you're creating these particular things, and a little bit about different kinds of, because to some degree I would hear what we're here educational, I think we're talking about this idea, but there, when you're introducing new things and new products, and creatively solving people's problems, a lot of times it does require some education and some information to get people to the point that they understand that you've got something for them that they may not even understand that they need.
Yep.
And so kind of creating that circumstance that you can have that as an event that's in your toolbox for your new offering is, I think, an important thing. The other thing, like investigative, is kind of like what Tim's doing with the May Brussels thing. Is he's kind of going through like almost a crime investigation to some degree. We're talking about things from the historical past, but the bottom line is he's giving people that participate in that the opportunity to contribute to that investigation, to put information in there, to keep adding to that thing, so that, for those people that have experienced that idea of going down the rabbit hole, that instead of spending months and years going down the rabbit hole, you can do that with other people, and you can efficiently do that in some cases, in the things that, like, say, for example, Tim has done with the Jim Jones thing. You don't have to spend 40 or 50 hours watching videos and stuff like that. You can watch Tim's presentation and he can give you a synopsis of all the things that we've already looked at. And in a couple of hours, have a really good idea of who are the players, and where were the events, and what were the things that were done, and et cetera, et cetera. But this is a way that, for those of us that may consider ourselves on the conspiracy theorist side, it's a way to collaborate with other people that have similar interests on something that maybe we'd like to get more knowledge in. And then the community bazaar, I'm thinking that at some point we can probably have like a weekly kind of meeting where we just come together and talk about what things have happened, what things have been done, similar to like a business networking meeting, where you can speak about the products that you're offering, or somebody's a featured presenter for the week. And then there are other people where they say, oh yeah, I used so and so, his limo service, and it was wonderful, and he did all these good things, and it's a great service. So if you do it, certainly check it out, because I've done it and it was wonderful. So giving that opportunity to give testimonials to the other people. And then specific benefits, that could be something in particular, like we're going to start something new. GTW is going to offer this new thing, or we're going to try this new product. That could be that kind of idea. And then innovation, kind of along the lines of investigation. I used to do this thing called Innovation Lab at my place on Sundays. I invite people from around the area to come up and talk about the things that they're working on, that they're doing, and talk about like how we might help each other. Like, I'm having this particular problem, I'm trying to get this thing done, it's something I've been working on for a couple of months now, and I can't seem to get over this one hurdle. Oh, that's what you need. My cousin does that, and those things can be solved. So that's that innovation thing. And then the final thing is projects. I don't know if you've looked, but in the job offering opening thing in in the forum, there's some potential projects out there, some kind of non-for-profit type projects that maybe some of the community would be interested in contributing to, because it's a great idea. Kind of putting those projects out in front of other people, and then maybe if it's a project that you're just looking to fill out, like there's particular things that you don't know how to do, but you've got an idea of how to do it. Maybe by putting that out there in the, on the schedule, and getting people to like give you feedback on how that might be accomplished. That's the type of events that I have outlined. The idea is that you can run it through the Time Exchange network, and maybe they say, yeah, this is a community event. This would benefit the community. So yeah, let's support that. Let's put it out there. Let's issue some tokens to make it a community event. And then in other cases, it's like, nah, maybe that's specific to you. That's that's something that maybe you're going to have to fund or take care of on, but it's just not something that we're going to create new tokens for.
Yeah. Yeah, the new event creation at the end of the cycle is probably the most radical part of it all, and that's where it creates the infinitum factor, because it can do so much at that point. Like you said, a person can have these tokens building up and not have any way to interchange them, not seeing something for them, but then they can create any one of these things, and it might not even be for them. It could be for a friend or someone else in the community.
Right.
And that's just, it's unlimited, really. I can't even begin to imagine. I mean, I can think of ways I would use this whole format within Autonomy to promote my hemp products once I'm able to finally get the IRS to be on board and to give me a number, so I can give that number to a third-party service, because no major card processors are willing to play ball, because not for any real reason other than the government has some words they wrote down. So that's high risk. So because it's these words, high risk, hemp is dangerous. So you can't do card transactions with major processors. So everyone, like when I've bought hemp online and CBD products, these people have all set up these back channel third-party services, but you still have to come in with the EIN. And I've been wrestling with that process, since during Autonomy. And it's not fun. That's why I want to exit that paradigm and enter a new paradigm.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing it firsthand, but as long as I'm in that paradigm, this is exactly what I hope to do when that time comes. Give presentations and talk about hemp, talk about CBD, talk about the human endocannabinoid system, because a lot of people don't know. I would definitely be all over creating new events and plugging and networking with things. I'm saying too much because it's late. My brain's starting to crack out. This is really a fantastic model, and I'm hoping that we can get some people to check it out and discuss it, in the week.
Well, I mean, here's an offer right there. This is my graphic ability, and it was pretty much cutting and pasting things that I found on the internet, little characters and stuff that like put them in the places. Certainly, if there's a graphic artist out there that could do a better job of representing some of these things, I would be more than happy to get a much better representation of these things. My intention with this was really to try and communicate this at a really simple level. And I do feel like, there's definitely some room for improvement there. But the idea is really to show that there is a cycle here, that there is just this kind of never ending wheel that we can just keep spinning faster and faster and faster. And the more people we get involved, the easier it becomes. And it is something that we can create within a community economy.
Yeah.
That not only sustains within the community, but also allows each of the community members to take that value and push it out outside of our community, so that it's not just an economic model that's for inside the community, but it's almost like a power plant that you're installing in a larger, you know, uh, neighborhood or city, where you're
Yeah,
just empowering the people that are involved, but then they're supercharging all the people around them.
the Tesla motor, not the car. I'm sorry. It's a free energy device named after Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
Because there's,
Yeah, the real Tesla.
yeah, I think, well, those things were, Rich replayed the war against us all back in the end of July there. And in the second part, or the first part, there's a whole lot about energy, and there's a whole lot of scientific discovery about how energy kind of just exists and flows around us from the earth through the sun, like solar rays, the ether, you want to call it whatever you want to call it. It exists. It's there. It's documented. And what's funny about that is it's almost a metaphor for everything we've talked about tonight, that we ourselves are an unlimited energy source. While we're living and moving and breathing, we're creating things of value. Humans have the ability to create the most amazing things despite our ability to tear things down. We also have the ability to speak healing words and to make healing devices and to grow healing plants. And that's a really key element of what we were talking about earlier, thinking, how can we value, I remember how I worded it, how can we value time differently or see new ways to understand value outside of this fiat, these walls, these invisible walls of only dollars. I think
Absolutely.
people who have traveled internationally probably get a better grasp of that because they've been forced to trade dollars for other local currencies to have on the street. And it's a really good way to understand that it's just paper. It's just an agreement. And any two people can make an agreement, and any 500 people can make an agreement. And if 5,000 people can make an agreement, the power of the 5,000 is substantial. This model applied to the 500 plus students in Autonomy has amazingly powerful potential.
Absolutely.
And Michael, I really thank you for coming on tonight to talk about it. I hope that we're able to take this seed and move forward. Is there anything else you wanted to share about it tonight?
Well, I would just say that it just starts one person at a time, and if this is of interest to you, my inclination is like my first exchange with any of the people that are involved is helping them, number one, understand the value proposition, and then making their own value proposition, because the thing that like all the businesses and projects and circumstances that I've been involved with, very few people understood the value proposition of the value of the work that they're doing, and how that translates to other people. And this is kind of certainly one of the areas that like we can help each other kind of create that environment where we get to help each other not only market ourselves and our the talents and skills that we have, but we get to benefit from those things too. We get to we get to participate in this thing. The idea of the affiliate program of Autonomy is something that Richard is giving us this offer where as graduates we can sell Autonomy.
Yep.
And it's a great product, and it's a product that's benefited us, and we can believe in it. We can believe in the people because we've seen the people and we've talked to the people, and so this is just one example. This is like one of the things that Richard does well, and we can participate in. But that's just the beginning. That's just the very freaking tip of the iceberg that we have, that each of us can bring to the table. And so, I can't, I don't even know. I don't even know how big this thing could be, but I certainly feel like, it starts just by, creating the circumstance where, yeah, I'd like to participate, talk to me about what it is that I do well. Like let's just talk about the things that I like to do, the things that sound fun to do together. All those things are possible things that other people could find value in, and certainly you could raise the quality of life of the people around you and within this community.
For sure. I completely agree. Well, Mike, thanks again. Thanks again so much for coming on. As usual, I always enjoy talking with you and fleshing out this idea and getting a visual put out there. At least an initial visual. I'd actually found it very beneficial, but you're right. There's probably someone with some pretty hot skills, and hopefully they'll jump on. And maybe I'll put that when I post up the edited video, I'll say, and hey, any designer skills, there's a job offer in here. Well, Mike, absolutely. I'm really thrilled to see this development and to discuss it tonight. Looking forward to doing it again soon. I want to thank you again for your time. Feel free to stick around. I might share a little bit else, but otherwise I'll probably wrap it up here shortly.
Okay.
It's been great.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you asking me to come on and talk about this.
Yeah, it's been great. Appreciate you, Mike. Well, I didn't have too much else, but I did have one thing else that I wanted to share tonight. And the interesting thing about it is the relation to where we kind of went with our discussion about thinking outside the box, thinking of new ways to perceive money or value in our reality. And this discussion may be a little bit different from the money aspect, but it's relative in that it relates to our thinking and being able to think around corners, as I like to say, and really bend our thinking, because it's difficult for one person to do it to themselves. They usually have to bump into other people. I've had to bump into other people to find my blind spots because I was blind to my blind spots. So what I'm going to discuss here is called helix sports. That's HELIX. And this connects to John Taylor Gatto, and it connects to me because I grew up doing a helix sport and didn't even know it. And when I learned about the power of helix sports and the types of things John Taylor Gatto was paid to go to, 24 countries around the world and speak to governments and corporations, as he talked about, he was in China and he was at NASA and he was at the Reese Institute, he was Mies Institute, he was all over the place. People wanted to hear what he had to say because what he did in New York City with his students could be done anywhere. And that's what he wrote about. That's what he gave speeches about. He was saying, it's really not that hard, people. You wake up. What I'm doing with kids is just what's inside of humans. It's actually, I'm unpackaging. This is what Richard does through Autonomy. He unpackages our unlimited potential. He helps our eyes to correctly see that we actually have this potential. And this is what Gatto did. And he talked a lot in his writing. And there's a specific writing on the internet. I think I'll list it here. It's personalitycafe.com, threads, helix sports for education, self-reliance. And the easy way to find that is just to search John Taylor Gatto plus helix sports. And it's some segments from his book that the person reposted there. So you're able to kind of grab that little piece because John wrote so voluminously that this kind of just snuck in there. But what I want to read to you is from a skateboard magazine, right? 2009. There's a guy on the cover of skateboarding. That's Jerry Sue, but it's not related. The article I'm reading was written by a man named Dave Carney, and it's just entitled Chinese Skateboarding. And I want to comment that this in 2009 was probably about 2 decades or a decade and a half after John Taylor Gatto was brought to China, not once, not twice, but I think more than twice, to speak to them on these ideas. So I'm going to read the whole article. This is in the words of Dave Carney. I went to China. They speak Chinese in China. A Do tour in Beijing was the official reason for the trip, but the real reason is far more interesting. The Chinese government is interested in introducing their youth to skateboarding. One of the initial phases in their plan is to build the world's biggest woodward skateboard camp on the outskirts of Beijing. Gary Ream, the president of Woodward, asked if I would join him on this trip. The image in my head was of a military-style skateboard boot camp in much the same style as China's gymnastics program. According to Gary, who is familiar with the gymnastics scene, the picture of young Chinese children being awoken at dawn and training for 14 hours a day as gymnasts, slaves, isn't that far off. I guess they really do go around to the schools and measure children's bodies, strength, coordination, etc. And if you happen to meet the gymnast prerequisites, they yank you out of school and throw you into the gym, and then you can't leave until you win an Olympic gold medal. Not entirely true, but that's how I like to imagine the future of Chinese skateboarding: rigorous training in a military-style skate camp, which is hilarious. For the most part, the Chinese government's support of skateboarding in China is a good thing, but there is a slightly more peculiar reasoning behind their interest. Basically, the Chinese government wants its people to be more creative, and they see skateboarding as a tool in helping them achieve that goal. Their schools, for instance, are based on STEM curriculums: science, technology, engineering, and math. There is little to no arts or music. And in addition to that, Chinese children don't have brothers or sisters, one child per family. And while that child reaps the benefits of his or her parents' undivided attention, she is also robbed of the camaraderie and delight of having a constant playmate and partner in crime. I'm going to unquote here. John Taylor Gatto would be smiling so big because he would agree with everything this person just said. Missing out on the camaraderie and delight of having a constant playmate and partner in crime. Returning to the article, the fear is that because their economy is booming, Chinese people have the ability to leave China and go to places that are more culturally relevant. The government has recognized that they are not a very well-rounded culture. And thus they have struck out to remedy the situation by installing a variety of creative outlets for its people. To indoctrinate its youth in the culture of skateboarding, China is building a Woodward at an old government resort 45 minutes outside of Beijing. This resort was one of the more peculiar visits on our trip. We did eat cattle lungs and mutton tongues, but that's a different story. The site of the world's largest skateboard camp is just as weird, though. We drove down a long, dirty driveway and ended in a large parking lot. At one end was a large glass building that looked very handsome and official. On the other side of the parking lot was an abandoned bumper car track. The neon sign above it hadn't been lit in years, and inside was a mess of bumper cars in various states of disrepair. "What is this place?" I asked Gary's son, Brandon. "We're not really sure," he said. As we toured the grounds, we learned a little bit more about the site, and while we didn't get all the answers, we learned enough to put together a strange picture. The compound was built in the 70s as a resort destination for government officials. It quickly fell out of favor, however, and has remained in a state of abandon ever since. The peculiar thing about the place, though, is that it's fully staffed. I noticed it when we visited the dark and empty bowling alley. No one was there except for two women behind the counter in matching tracksuit uniforms, waiting to rent lanes and shoes to anyone who wished to bowl. Next, we visited the indoor tennis facility. Same situation. The lights were off, but there was a woman in uniform quietly waiting behind the desk. Me and BMX professional Steve McCann grabbed a couple of rackets off the wall and started playing tennis on the badminton court. Here it comes. We were just messing around when the tennis lady was appalled. "No, no, no," she said, and beckoned us to follow her around the corner where she showed us the tennis court. "This is where you play tennis," she seemed to say, "on the tennis court." She made me wonder, though, how as a culture they're going to be able to accept all the creativity in skateboarding and basically doing things wrong. "Who is that lady in there?" I asked our guide. "That lady is in charge of our tennis facility," she said. "Does anyone play tennis?" She tried to explain that, yes, sometimes people come to play on holidays, but it was obvious from the interpreter's voice that it was even more rare than that. Yet the tennis lady runs the facility 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. She gets paid $70 a month doing nothing. She earns every penny, I said. I won't read the rest because it kind of trails off, but what I was getting at there is how the government recognized the need, and the need was creativity. And how inside their own culture, they weren't even able to allow to people to play tennis on a badminton court and be goofy for a second, yet they want to push skateboarding, which is entirely based on constant uniqueness. Everything that someone does on a skateboard, they want to be more unique than the person behind them, even if it's just the style of how they did it, where they did it, what they did it on. I recently, in the past year and a half, saw a video about a culture that has erupted in Tokyo. And it's a group of street skateboarders in Tokyo that have literally invented a whole new way to street skateboard. And what they were doing inside this plaza, maybe 15, 20 years ago, might have been called, I really don't know what they would call it, but they've perfected it and they've made it into an art and a craft. And they have birthed a representation of what me and Mike talked about tonight, with thinking outside of the box, finding value in your time, and letting invention roll. And so that's kind of what I wanted to grab from that article. And if you've made it this far through the podcast, I want to tell you, you are a champion, like the three-legged dog from Parks and Rec. And if you don't know, it's hilarious little side story to a goofy show. But this three-legged dog gets rescued and in return provides great value to the very dim-witted owner of the dog. We can have our legs cut off and we could come through and survive. We could be champions. So have a great night, everybody. Thanks for chiming in. We'll see you next time on the Autonomy Summer School podcast.
Thanks, Daniel.
No problem.
Good show.